I read this in Gita. It says, Buddho Sharanam Anvecha. Take refuge and in your buddhi, in your intellect. So, going to the next question, Sadhguruji, I will bring, Einstein. And everybody looks at Einstein as a great scientist. But, what he said, that he believed that the fundamental laws of nature that govern the earth, something that is observable, something that's unbreakable, rules of cosmos. He said that is God. Because science could not explain things beyond a certain point. And he said, that essentially I believe in cosmic religion because the observable, unbreakable rules that govern the earth is what is God. I wanted to hear your views. And do you believe that science and spirituality go hand in hand? Do science and the laws of nature somewhere, connect with human consciousness, the within part that you were explaining?
Well, talking about a scientist like Einstein, he said something like this, I'm paraphrasing, I may not be correct on the quote. He said something like this towards the end of his life when someone asked, if you're given one more chance, for sure you will be a nuclear scientist, wouldn't you be? He said, no, if I'm given another chance, I would rather be a carpenter or a plumber. Because he has made many statements like this, talking about how modern science is a very keyhole way of looking at the larger life process. After all, you're trying to understand and delve into life process. When I say life process, planet is life process, cosmos is life process. Life as we see it, if you want to need an analogy, it is like cosmos is like a big tree, life is like a small flower. But ultimately, all these planets and stars and whatever they're doing, the flower of that is life. So, I'm a little disappointed even with Albert Einstein because he's still trying to promote one more religion, a new religion. But believe me, you give them a new religion, within a few years, they will make that into another kind of fanatic religion, all right? People will do that because identity, again limited identity. So you are a Hindu, I am a cosmic religion. We will fight again. I'm saying I will call myself cosmic religion, but again the same problems will come. So, probably in his time, he could not speak in any other form, probably, in those at that time in the early and middle part of 20th century, maybe language wouldn't allow, so society wouldn't allow any other way of speech probably. Giving him that, a man of his intelligence definitely saw the hollowness of simply believing something. So now, do you believe, you asked? First of all, let's come to this. See, there is a way to know things. You know some things, you know you're alive. But you believe many things about where you come from, how you happened, where will you go, all these kinds of stuff. Why is it so difficult for a human being to see, I do not know? There is so much about this life that you do not know. What about it? That's why it is so magnificent, that's why you are never done with life. If you live here for 1,000,000 years, you're still not done with life because still there is a massive amount of space which is I do not know. And I do not know is a tremendous possibility. Only if you see I do not know, the possibility of knowing will become a living reality in your life. Everything that you do not know, you believe, that's what you're referring to as religion. I believe this, I believe that. I'm saying, why do you believe something? Why don't you just say, I don't know? If you say, I do not know, see, you're walking on the street like, I know, like this. Suddenly you don't know which way to go. Do you see how gentle and polite people become just like that? Have you noticed this? He doesn't know which street to turn. Anna, yav kade hogodanna? He knows where to go, pam, 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 he will go. This is the difference between people who believe they know and when you realize you do not know. The moment you realize I do not know, the longing to know, the seeking to know, and the possibility of knowing becomes a living reality. It's very, very important that we invest this in people, especially in our children, that it does not matter, you read as many textbooks as you want, as many scriptures as you want, you still don't know a damn thing. You still don't know a single atom in its entirety. You may know how to use it, you may know how to fuse it, you may know how to break it, but you do not know what it is in its full entirety. You don't know a thing. If you're conscious that you do not know, you will have a living intelligence. Otherwise, you will make conclusions and then concretize that into belief system, and then of course, if you have a different belief system, we will want to kill you. This has been going on forever. So I am putting it in a very simplistic terms, but the moment you believe something, and I believe something totally different, is there a confrontation or not? Two people, both of us do not know, where is the basis to fight? Both of us can explore in as many ways as we want. Life should be a constant process of exploration, only then there is science. So how do you say science and spirituality? There are no such things. There is only spirituality. Science is just a small physical expression of that. This may insult a lot of scientists and others, but I am saying this, they are only looking at the physical dimension of the universe, right?
Correct.
Am I correct? Science is only concerned about the physical dimension of the universe. Tell me, if you look up in the sky, do you see more stars or more empty space? In this universe, in these galaxies, in this cosmos, not even 1%, not even 1% is physical manifestation. Rest is just empty space. This is why spiritual process is only concerned about that 99%, not about the 1%. 1% we believe a small part of our intelligence can handle that 1%, the physical aspects of it. 99%, what is the nature of what it is? And how come where there seems to be nothing makes everything happen? So this is what the word Shiva means in India. People think he's one man who sits on the mountain. No, the word Shiva means that which is not. Our concern is always about that which is not. In the yogic culture, we are always encouraged to invest or identify with our ignorance, never with our knowledge. Because even if you have read the libraries of this world, what you know about this cosmos is a minuscule. If you identify with this knowledge, you will become a minuscule. But our ignorance is boundless, isn't it? If you identify with your ignorance, you will become boundless. See, that's why I'm like this, ignorant and wonderful.
That's beautiful.
I can tell you a small little joke that was going around some time ago. It once happened this happened in 2050. So God, because the scientists of the world sought an appointment with God. And they went there. They told him, hey old man, you've done pretty well, but it's time you retire because everything that you can do, we can also do. God said, oh, is that so? What can you do? So they picked up some soil and did whatever processes they did for a period of time, and it became a living infant and started crying. God said, well, that's pretty impressive, but first get your own soil.
Beautiful. Beautiful,
You're
sir.
forgetting that you're playing your whole game on a particular stage, which is not your making.
Very, very true. And, I completely agree with you and believe that at a certain point, science comes to a halt. And that's where they turn to, things that cannot be explained, and turn to spirituality, or believe that, there is something more beyond science. One of your talks that I was listening to, Sadhguruji, one girl asked you about happiness and joy, and complication of happiness comes from within and joy is coming from outside, and you explained very beautifully that expand the happiness that's within you, search within you that the complex processor that we are. And immediately I got reminded of, every time when we are trying to explain a variable, we try to say, okay, what are the variations that explain this variable? But we also have some random explanation that, we don't know where it comes from. And reality is science tries to maximize the explained variation and leaves very little to chance. And that's exactly what you said. You said, look for joys from within, try to find and understand yourself. And that's when, it was an aha moment for me that science is actually derived from human consciousness. And, things that you were explaining, I could immediately connect to a lot of science. So I fully agree with you that there is so many things unexplained. And the minute we say, I do not know, it just opens up so many doors of research and experimentation and learning, which we all must be, doing every single day.
No, it's not that we say we do not know, we do not know, that's a fact.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
above all, today modern science is talking about how human experience has a chemical basis. Suppose you lose your peace, you go to the doctor, he gives you a pill and it makes you peaceful for a period of time, something like this.
Yes.
Well, today people have gotten into this, if they want to be peaceful, they should have a glass of wine. If they have to be happy, they must have something more. If they want to be really ecstatic, there are other things which are all becoming legal now. You saw the Oregon state everything is legal. So I'm saying for everything, to be healthful, to be peaceful, to be joyful, to be blissful, you need chemicals from outside. But the greatest chemical factory is right here, the most sophisticated chemical factory is right here. There is no chemical process happening in the world which is not happening here. Everything that happens on this planet in some way is happening in this. When you have such a complex chemical factory, the question is only whether you are a wonderful or efficient CEO or you are a lousy CEO. If you were a good CEO, you would produce blissfulness out of your chemistry. If you're a lousy CEO, you make misery out of that. You think stress, anxiety, nonsense is because of the work that you're doing. Okay, get fired and be happy, let me see. I'm saying it's not because of the work. Right now, people were saying it was the office and the boss. I'm sure you were the point of stress for a whole lot of people who work for you. Now they're all at home and being more stressful. Isn't it? So
Very
stress is not because of what we do. Stress is simply because you do not know how to manage your own body, your own mind, your own thought, emotion, energies, chemistry. You don't know how to manage yourself. That's why you're stressful, not because of the work that you're doing.
Very true, Sadhguruji. We are generating our own happiness hormone and we are generating our own anxiety hormone, and we need to balance and control and manage better. Sadhguruji, the next question I wanted to ask, as this pandemic has accentuated the need for establishing well-being, peace, and happiness of our people, especially in workplace, how can businesses approach this? Should business leaders look at adapting individual well-being in a more holistic and comprehensive manner, and form a different perspective? You have been speaking a lot about inner engineering. I actually tried to acquire that book before we spoke, but I wanted to hear from you. How can we leverage some of the learnings that you put, and should business leaders adopt this to ensure well-being of their people, considering some of the conversation we had before, that people are sad, and in many cases, like you said, they've lost many people but in their lives, but many of them are stressed because they feel like they're almost jailed inside their houses. So how can we leverage some of this inner engineering? Can you explain a little bit of that, Sadhguruji?
It's uncanny you use that word jailed because just a few hours ago I was speaking to the Tamil Nadu prisons, over 15,000 prisoners, convicts, long-term convicts who are in Tamil Nadu, and how they're longing to go home. Many of them, one of the convicts asking me, who's been in the prison for 23 years, uh, and how badly they want to go home. And those who are at home, how badly they want to get out. So where is the problem? The problem is within you, isn't it? It's not at home, it's not in the prison, it is within you. This is the problem. So, having said that, about… I don't know if I can take the liberty of structuring India's or the world's future industrial needs. This may look too wacky or too revolutionary right now, but I think people will come to it after a few years, but it's best we are ahead of times in many ways. Now that this pandemic has pushed us in this direction, first and foremost thing is, there should be no human resource departments. Human is not a resource. Resource means, suppose I take iron ore, I know what are the properties, I know what are all the innovations I can make upon it, and that's about it. I can't make iron into gold, I can make iron into many things, useful things. So the same thing, if you treat something as a resource, you're only looking at maybe permutations and combinations of what you can do with the same thing. But a human being is a potential. You have to unfold him or her. As they are, they may be nothing. I'm saying, because I'm talking to you, I'm using you as an example. Suppose we looked at you 20 years ago or 30 years ago. What potential you were and what you are today, is it significantly different? I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Yes, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's not just for you, this is for every human being, it's true. So this is a potential. This potential to unfold, you need to create a right kind of ambience, right kind of nourishment. It's like growing a plant. You may grow up the same plant, I may grow the same plant. See, you have flowers behind you, I have metallic flowers. Look at me, bad gardener, I think. So I'm saying, if both of us are growing the same plant, depending upon how we take care of it, your plant may yield 100 flowers, mine may come up with one or none. Isn't this happening to human beings across the world? Well-nourished, not just physically nourished, in every way, if a human being is kept in proper ambience, they will flourish and become many things that you had not imagined possible. But if you don't do that, then they will become nothing or become a big problem in the world. So, it is a human potential. Right now, because every industry, for example, you're doing microprocessors, you must focus on that. Why are you trying to manage your human resource? But there is no other way, because you have to have your employees, you have to manage them. Somebody is producing steel rods, do they know anything about managing human beings? No, they're also managing. I would say the future of industry and business should go in this direction. There must be human potential business. That means, let's say they hire 100 million people, and now you can outsource your work to them. Your business is only to innovate the processor. Your business is not to manage these human beings, because there are lots of trouble. When 10 of them get together, there can be a whole lot of trouble if you don't create the right ambience. And every business trying to create this ambience itself is a tragedy. Now we have discovered we can work from home, whatever. Human resource can just look at how to galvanize human beings to be at the highest level of potential. Other industry and business should focus on whatever is their individual subject of focus. This is a very faraway thing right now, but it can happen. It is time… I know already little bit of outsourcing is happening, but that is for specific areas of activity. I'm saying generally, let's say I have 100 million people or 10 million people under human resource development, and if Intel comes to me, you want 1,000 people, all right, iron and steel wants that, every kind of thing. See, teaching them a skill is not a problem if they are unimpeded by their own thoughts, their own emotions, and training them to do something is very quick. It can be done. Anyway, they would have gone through an education process which already puts them into your slot. In that slot, developing them from one to another, I don't know, I've not looked at where all you worked before, but a whole lot of people today are in technology, yesterday they were in management. Many of them who are doctors, today they're managing big companies, all kinds of things. Because human potential can develop whichever way, your education or initial training need not fix it. This is what corporate world or corporate structures are looking at, but that is not happen in a seamless way. We must… those who are good at managing human potential, nurturing human potential should manage human beings. Those who are good at processors or steel or this one or that one, they should do that. So this may look completely off. I'm saying instead of having 20,000 employees in Intel, probably you can have just 200 core people. Rest of them can be taken just from anywhere according to your needs. Your costs also will come down, your troubles will come down, your infrastructure will come down. When I say your infrastructure will come down, this will bring down the stress on the planet significantly. This thing that everybody works from home itself is a significant drop in infrastructure, isn't it? I was to speak at San Francisco Club some time ago, and I was driving about 45 minutes, I had to drive to that place. And my side of the road was fully packed with traffic, and the opposite side also packed. I was talking to some of the top business leaders there, and I asked them, why have you guys… all of you are brilliant people who are thinking of economics, who are thinking of every little thing that you can do more efficiently, full of technology. Why is it people who live here work there, people who live there work here? And look at Bangalore traffic, everybody is working in the wrong place or living in the wrong place, isn't it? I've been talking to Karnataka government and also few builders. Yeah, I'm saying just go out of Bangalore city, 50 kilometers, even 100 kilometers, go out. Take 50 acres. Anyway, you have two FSI permission. Just 1 acre, build 100 floors. Remaining 49 acres, have a wonderful forest. This building should have housing, offices, at least school up to 7th standard, little bit of shopping, a small theater, whatever you want. That is 5 to 6 days in a week, you don't step out of the building, you stay in your own thing. Completely, no power lines, no sewer lines, nothing. It can be completely self-sustained. Above all, children will get to grow up in good atmospheres. Right now in Bangalore city, if they step out of their home, they are into the traffic. This is how children are growing up. When children grow like this, how I've grown up in open spaces, when I see the children growing up without playing a game, without knowing what is an open space, what kind of adults will they be? How will you do this, I'm saying? So you can have a bonsai tree in your home. Is that the same as a full-grown tree? So you are making human beings into bonsais, small scale. Just everybody grows up physically because they're eating well. Beyond that, nothing happens. Because if something has to happen, it needs exposure, it needs other atmosphere. You need many things to happen. I must tell you this, right now pandemic everywhere raging. We are over 4,000 people in the yoga center in India, not a single infection. 47 villages that in which we are managing, there have been barely any infections, a few people only who came from outside. Chief Minister mentioned in one of his reports, how come in this area there are no infections? Now here also there are enough people in this ashram, we are doing our programs, everything is going on, but not a single infection. This is just a little bit of conscious, responsible behavior, strong immune systems, that's all it takes. So this pandemic especially, it is not being carried by mosquitoes or rats or some other creatures, all right? It is carried by us. When we are the carriers, I'm saying the simplest thing would be, if all of us were conscious human beings, if one instruction we would follow, if all of us simply sit in our own homes, maybe meditate or maybe watch the television, do whatever the hell you want. Don't come near any other human being for 14 days. Pandemic is over in the world. Now in countries like in European countries, France, Germany, Belgium, even UK, soldiers are on the street quietly. Armed soldiers are on the street to manage the population because they want to party, somebody wants a haircut, all right? Their mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers have died recently, but they want a haircut. That is the level of compulsiveness that we have. If we do not build a conscious population, more and more technology means more and more trouble, that's what we will create for ourselves. As we become more empowered, there is a fundamental need that we become more conscious and responsible, not a reactive, compulsive society.
Absolutely. With a lot of power, with a lot of technology, a lot of responsibility should come. And based on what you said, Sadhguruji, how important it is to give an environment for our children, for our people to thrive. And it is so important to have nature near them. It is so important to have the normal playing style. So they don't just live with technology. And it's very true, because recently, Sadhguruji, I read an article. It's about biology, about how memories can be encoded in somebody's DNA and can manifest 4 or 5 generations later. So, for example, if my great grandmother was really, really scared of lizards, and that gets imprinted into her DNA, without even having seen a lizard, I will get scared. So I'm saying good actions, good deeds, and nice things that we do, being aware of us. And like you beautifully say that you see yourself in me, I see myself in you, because that's how we experience everything within. I think we have to do a lot of good deeds, like you say, to create a generation that is happier. So I want to ask you one more question, Sadhguruji, and if there is time, we'll perhaps do one more. If you look at Hindu philosophy, we talk about what is called Darshan Shastra, and I'm very new to it. I have a lot to learn, so I'm going to seek your input. And Darshan Shastra, for people who don't understand Hindi, Sanskrit means guiding philosophies. And there are, 6 guiding philosophies, but classified into 3 major categories. One is Tark. Tark means logic. The second is Sankhya. Sankhya means enumeration of, information. And then there is Mimamsa, which is also logic and, experience kind of logic. And when you look at similar kind of philosophy coming from Aristotle, he used logos, pathos, ethos for basically convincing kind of arguments. And similarly, we have Maslow's pyramid, which talks about evolution of human beings into ultimately getting into a state where he's totally learned. And when we look at our philosophy, there is, Sankhya Yoga, there is Karma Yoga, and then there is Buddhi Yoga, which is, it leads to the evolution. Do you think these were like parallel thought processes happening? How come they are like so similar?
Well, today, unfortunately, most of us grew up in schools reading Indian history written by English people. Now in the world, the French historians have been writing India's history to some extent, world history, but they're touching on India also, which is very different from the way the British did it, because British did it with an intent of control. So in this, there are a lot of things of how the transaction between ancient Greece and India was very, very on. So Apollonius is one who came to India, and when he went to Egypt, he was actually persecuted for this, because he said, if you have not visited India like the ancient Greeks have, you know nothing. You know nothing worthwhile if you have not visited India. So this is not my nationalistic sense saying India is everything, but India is one nation, or Bharat as we know it is one culture. Let's call it a culture, because today we understand nationality or nation as a political entity. Not as a political entity, but as a geographical entity, we were one nation. This is why we called ourselves Hindustan, which means the land that lies between Himalayas and the Indus-Sagara, which is today known as Indian Ocean. The land that lies between these two geographical features was Hindustan. Why this became a very unique culture is, it had an uninterrupted development of culture and human development happening for about 6,000 to 7,000 years. Because the Himalayas protected us from warlords coming from elsewhere, and the Indian Ocean always was a protection for us till the ships became, the way to come. That was only in the last few hundred years, till then it was all blocked. So because of this uninterrupted thing, our focus was not on our survival process. Land was rich, full of rivers, wildlife, and vegetation was richest in this country. Even today, if you take a handful of soil, there are over 50,000 species of microbes in the Indian soil, in the southern Indian soil especially, which is not comparable to anything in the world. 50,000 species exist in one handful of soil. So that gave us a very rich fauna and flora, which made our lives easy in terms of survival. And there were no invasions happening, no battles and wars of a great proportion. This also became our problem because we did not develop such armies, we did not develop fighting men. Men and women involved in spirituality, in mathematics, in astronomy and various other arts, but not fighting men. They were very small segment of fighting men. This is why the nation or this culture was conquered so easily. A few hundred people who came from elsewhere, actually they came as bandits. But when they saw the culture was so soft, they became emperors over a period of time, because they were fighting men and here men were interested in higher things. So we did not find that balance of external and internal, became too much internal and intellectual. Because of that we paid a price. Having said that, now the important thing about these three dimensions that you mentioned is, well, how yoga looks at it is, there are four dimensions of intelligence within you. One is the buddhi, which is the intellect. Intellect is wonderful as an instrument of survival. You can survive in this world only if your intellect is reasonably sharp. And you want it sharp. Everybody, if you ask any human being, you want it, your buddhi sharp or blunt, you would say, I want it sharp. So it is like a knife, it's a cutting instrument. If I give you a cutting instrument, first thing is you must know where to hold it. If you hold the blade side of it, the harder you hold it, the more it'll hurt you. This is what you are seeing across the world. People are hurt by their own intellect. They don't need any external help. They are poking themselves all the time. Another aspect of the intellect is, as it is a cutting instrument, as it's a knife, you can use it only for cutting purposes. You want to stitch your clothes, you used your knife to stitch them, you will be in tatters. That is what is happening to human life right now with modern education, where we recognize only intellect as intelligence. For this we paying a heavy price. Other dimensions of intelligence are not coming forth. Now people are beginning to talk emotional intelligence. But the way you think is the way you feel, they're not two different things. Because how you think is how you feel, they're not separate. It is just that one is a more sappier part of the intellect, which is emotion. But there are other dimensions of intelligence within you. The next one is called as ahankara. This is the identity. Ahankara does not mean ego, it means your identity. As we already went through this, I'll skip this because your identity determines how your knife functions. If my identity is such that I feel you are a threat to my identity, my knife will poke you. This is how human intellect works. I think I am this country, I belong to this nation. Now my intellect constantly works how to protect this identity. I see things like that, I feel things like that. If I just see my flag, tears will come to me, you know. Just see how it works, the identity. It is your identity which makes you feel tomorrow is your son's birthday. It's your identity as a mother, happy birthday to him anyway. It's your identity as mother which makes you with all these emotions. How come? Another child does not invoke the same emotion. Even though you may be kind and nice to the other child, he does not invoke the same emotion simply because of identity. Don't think it's because of genetics, don't think it's because of blood. Because at the time of birth in a hospital, if a child gets exchanged, still you will love the child just as yours, not knowing what it is, because it is the identity which makes all this happen. So human intellect is always trying to do things according to its identity. This is why I said you must have a cosmic identity. That is when your intellect will function for everybody's well-being. That is when human intelligence can be harnessed for larger things, that you will not be a consequence of your individual ambition, but of a larger vision for everything. The third dimension is called as manas, The question that you asked, how if your grandmother had a problem with the lizard, that problem comes to you though you have not seen a lizard. Yes, today science is accepting this, but forever we've been talking about samskara. What is your samskara? Because of your samskara, you're experiencing things in a certain way. What we call as manas is a silo of memory. Silo of memory means here there is elemental memory, there is evolutionary memory, there is genetic memory, there is karmic memory, there is articulate and inarticulate forms of memory, there is subconscious and conscious forms of memory. Right now, most of the memory that you use in your daily life, in your work, in your family, all this is just conscious memory, which is a thin veneer. It is not really much, it's just a thin sheet, that's all it is. Rest is all unconscious. When I say unconscious, see right now, see, whatever you eat, let us say, let me not use you as an example, you're a big CEO, I can use myself. Suppose me and a dog eat the same food for next 1 year. There is no risk of me becoming a dog or the dog becoming me, because there is properly encrusted memory, evolutionary memory in this, that this is a human being. Whatever you put, it only becomes a human being because every cell in this body has a microprocessor which clearly remembers this is a human being. It will never confuse itself. Next thing is, it doesn't matter, you come to another country and eat their food, you will not become like them. Your genetic memory decides that you are like this only no matter what. Similarly, karmic memory also plays the similar kind of role. Depending upon your karmic memory, various likes, dislikes, what what you are drawn towards, what you are repelled from, all this thing is there. But the entire spiritual process is about distancing yourself from this. Because if your memory should be a platform upon which you stand and able to reach out for something higher. But if you sink into your memory will become a trap, because memory means it's a boundary. See, for example, let's say now I have seen you on the video, if I see you on the street, oh, it's Nivruti, I know her, this. Suppose I have not seen you, I've just been talking to you on the phone, and you come on the street, you're a stranger, you're out of my memory board. That's all it is. My memory is my region of operation, my memory is my boundary for my existence. What is beyond my memory, in India we'll say it's stranger, in America we say they're weird. Somebody who doesn't look like me, doesn't feel like me is a weird creature, all right? So, essentially memory is a limitation, but it is only with memory you are who you are. It is a tremendous possibility, but it's a limited possibility. So there is a fourth dimension of intelligence called chitta. Chitta means it is an intelligence, it's pure intelligence without an iota of memory in it. That means if you touch your chitta, you become boundless in your perception. So in the yogic parlance, there is a mischievous way of saying this. The yogis say, if you touch your chitta, God will become your slave. For this you may get killed in many cultures, but in yoga we say if you touch your chitta, God will be your slave, because you don't even have to ask what you want. Simply what is needed will happen for you all the time. So these are the four dimensions of intelligence. This Tarka, Mimamsa, I'm sorry, what is the Sankhya, Mimamsa, this is a way of dividing the intellect. The front end, the knife you're dividing as the blade and the handle and the hand and whatever like this, but we are looking at intelligence per se, these are the four dimensions. But unfortunately, our education systems have given us this feeling that memory is intelligence. This is the greatest harm we have done to humanity, is making them believe memory is intelligence. If I can read the damn textbook and remember every word, everybody thinks I'm brilliant. But today your chip can do it. Hello? It can remember more than I can remember in my head. A simple, my phone has bigger memory than most human beings on the planet.
Yes.
That's why they call it a smartphone, because you call something smart only when it's smarter than you.
Very true. I think smartness of gadgets and technologies are only augmentation. The intelligence, like you said, is within. So, Sadhguruji, the last question I'm asking, I know we are running a little bit, beyond time, but it is important because in Karnataka, we will be now looking at process of disseminating vaccines. So, as COVID-19 vaccine becomes available in India, and then the whole world is grappling with the decision as to who should be vaccinated first. The question of prioritizing people's access to the vaccine, has practical as well as moral implications. What are your thoughts on those? Because very soon I will be part of a team which in Karnataka will be looking at disseminating vaccine, and hopefully the vaccine is coming in December.
Well, somebody asked me about this in United States, Sadhguru, there are vaccines which are already validated in Russia. If you want, we'll get it for you. Why don't you take the vaccine? You are very important. So I told them, and I'm saying this in public today, that when the vaccine comes, if I'm not the last person to take it, I will be among the last people to take it. I've made that decision. It doesn't matter. I will be the last one or among the last group of people to take it. Having said that, why I am saying that I'll explain later. In terms of who should get it first, I think the logical answer will be those who are exposed most, those whose lives are most at risk. Medical personnel for sure, 100%. Police personnel who are active in duty, and unfortunately many officers have died, both in India and outside the country. And vulnerable populations like comorbid people who are like over 65, 70 years of age. But they can also restrict their lives and control it, but more vulnerable means more exposed. People who are working on a daily basis. It may be just somebody who, sweeps the floor in a railway station. It could be all those people who have to go out to work to make a living today. They must get it first. It is very important if you want to stop the pandemic. But whatever you do, people who have the money and influence will try to get it in their own way. So I feel this will be very controversial, what I say just now, what I will say just now, but I would want people to think about it without reacting. I would say you must also make it available to rich and powerful and charge them big time. Let's say it's 1 lakh rupees for the vaccine. What we should do is, if somebody pays 1 lakh rupees for the vaccine, I don't know what's the cost, I'm just assuming, if it's 100 rupees cost for the vaccine, then this 1 lakh should be given if one rich person or one, economically capable person gets it out of turn, that many vaccines must be given to people who cannot afford it. Some kind of adjustment, because ultimately you will need money to distribute.
Yes.
You will need economic prowess to distribute. So those who think they can pay for it, they must pay heavily so that others can get it, but that must be made mandatory, that underhand people will start getting anyway. Please understand this. I'm saying this just to prevent the corruption. This is not my priority, but to prevent the corruption, that people who can pay whatever, and black marketing of vaccines will happen, then fake vaccines will come. It is like liquor, when you ban the liquor, all kinds of things will happen. Suddenly, so many people will die consuming some spurious liquor. The same things will happen. Somebody will start selling gutter water as vaccine, and suddenly so many people will die. All these problems will come. So instead of that, in some way organize these corrupt minds in such a way that it'll benefit the country.
Very, very lovely suggestion. Actually, if you look at, couple of business models in hospitals, like the Shankara Eye Hospital, I feel wonderful that, people who can afford are paying, such that people who cannot afford can get the
Yes,
benefit. So I love
that
this.
has to be that way.
Yes, I will
See,
make…
even our own programs are like this. In the cities, if you want your same in engineering program, if you want it in a five-star hotel, it costs so much. You want it in one chowdhury, it costs so much. You want it in somebody's house hall, costs so much. In the villages, it's absolutely free. 70% of our programs are free in the villages. But if somebody doesn't pay, how to keep the service going?
Yeah. So corporations, who sign up for bulk, need to pay a little bit more such, and this could be a
Yes.
process that we could build. So thank you, Sadhguruji, for your time. I will again say that, it was my honor to be able to talk to you. Despite the fact that I'm sitting thousands of miles away from you, I felt your energy, the positivity, and I hope everybody listening to you feels the same way, and goes back home with more enlightenment, and looks at ways to become happier through these
They're
topics.
already home, they don't have to go back home, they're just home. See, you're also doing all your work from your bedroom.
But I tell you, Sadhguruji, I tell my office, I'm not working from home. I'm actually sleeping at office because I'm working. It seems like I'm working all the time.
That's true.
Thank you
Wonderful.
very, very much, Sadhguruji. Uh,
Namaskar.
my heartiest
My
thanks.
my congratulations and best wishes for the Bangalore Tech Summit. Hope this will bring in a lot of technology and investments to this city, and also hope it brings infrastructure, and all of you working from home will reduce the traffic on the road and make Bangalore once again a beautiful garden city that it was 40, 50 years